And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook on this Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. And to set things up, we have an area of low pressure that's crossed Kodiak Island. It'll be located between Kodiak Island and the southern end of the Kenai Peninsula here in the Western Gulf for Wednesday afternoon. And as we go through Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, the low will track northeastward just off the Kenai coast and then diminish across Prince William Sound during the day on Thursday. This is forcing a frontal system north and eastward with additional showers and breezy conditions. So to start out Thursday morning, we expect IFR conditions along the northern Gulf Coast from Yakutat on over to the east side of Prince William Sound, including Cordova. And then off to the north, we find areas of IFR in the Alaska Range. And far north up here along the Arctic coast to the spine of the Brooks Range, this region snow will be developing and increasing through the day Thursday. As a result, there could be some moderate to heavy accumulation of snow, especially around Adigan and Anatuvik Pass there in the east central Brooks Range. And then along the west coast from the Chukchi Sea down through the Bering Strait, the lower Yukon Delta, Nunavik Island, we have IFR conditions also down to St. Paul. Thursday afternoon, we could find some scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms popping up over areas of the central eastern interior, perhaps even an isolated storm in the lower Mat-Su Valley. We're anticipating MVFR conditions across the Panhandle with showers pushing through that frontal system back to the west. Still IFR off the lower Yukon coast to St. Matthew to St. Paul. Also IFR conditions continuing along the Arctic coast from Utqiagvik eastward through Demarcation Bay. And Friday morning, once again, we expect IFR conditions there along areas of the North Slope spine of the Brooks Range. Still some additional snowfall there, especially along the Brooks Range coming through Adigan Pass, the Dalton Highway. And then down here along the northeastern Gulf Coast, there could be some areas of IFR just outside of Yakutat Bay, and then back to the west, the southwest coast, the YK Deltas on over toward Nunavik Island, back toward St. Matthew, St. Paul. IFR conditions expected as well to just north of the central Aleutians there. And on Friday afternoon, once again, there could be a few thunderstorms pop up with the daytime heating there, Yukon Flats down toward the upper Tanana Valley. Otherwise, a little better conditions anticipated over the Panhandle, especially inner channels and back here across the Gulf Coast. But if that's not enough, another low is going to come up here out of the North Pacific into the Western Gulf in a similar track for Saturday into Sunday. This next system will have more wind with it, and another round of rain that will eventually spread up here along the Gulf Coast, the Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula, and all the way back up into the Panhandle, especially Panhandle later weekend. So be aware of that feature coming up beyond this shorter term 2-day outlook. So Thursday up there at Anatuvik and Adigan Pass, we are anticipating IFR conditions with low ceilings and snow and fog. Also, again, Adigan Pass, IFR conditions expected there Thursday with that area of snow that's going to set up. Lake Clark and Merrill, generally MVFR conditions there for the west side of the Alaska Range. Rainy Pass, IFR, becoming MVFR. Windy Pass, also some IFR conditions because you're going to have that upslope flow causing the upward glide to create clouds and certainly lower ceilings and even some fog and light precipitation lingering. IFR to MVFR, Windy Pass, Isabel Pass, generally MVFR, and then farther east, Mentasta Pass. We'll see visual flight rules on Thursday. Across the Copper River Basin, Tanita may see a period of MVFR, then becoming VFR. Same thing, Portage Pass starting out with MVFR conditions, especially the eastern half of the pass out toward Prince William Sound, giving way to VFR conditions as we get into midday and afternoon. Chilkoot and White should generally see MVFR conditions on Thursday. So looking at the freezing levels at the surface, we find temperatures below freezing over eastern Russia, the Bering Strait, maybe the north side of the Seward Peninsula around Wales, Shishmaref, and then south slopes here of the Brooks Range, also an area below freezing temperatures there, Wrangell, St. Elias Mountains. Note, though, that there is a colder pocket of air over the southeastern Bering Sea and the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula below 2,000 feet. This is a broader trough. These freezing levels aloft kind of show where the cooler air aloft is, which is a good indicator where the trough or a mid-upper level low may be circulating. Otherwise, freezing levels do come up across the Panhandle, 6,000 to 8,000 feet to 10,000 feet there at Haida Gwaii into the British Columbia coast. And then behind me, there is some recovery there west of the Aleutians. You can see the western Aleutians freezing levels 8 to just shy of 10,000 feet. So where there is precipitation, we have the thicker precipitation producing clouds. We find over the Panhandle above 8, even near 10,000 feet, there could be icing, moderate icing. Also an area here out over the Alaska Range, Talkeetna Mountains, parts of the Chugach, on over toward the northern Gulf Coast surrounding Prince William Sound. You could find some moderate icing above 6,000 to 8,000 feet. And then for the interior, we also find areas above 6,000 feet there, middle upper Yukon Valley. Could be some moderate icing above 6,000 feet, and then certainly out back here toward Anaktuvuk-Adigan Pass once you get up about 4,000 feet, even though temperatures will be close to freezing there at the surface. Upper level jet stream winds Thursday. You can see the trough over the mainland here. This is the main trough axis running down along the west side of the mainland. Pretty strong jet core to 135 knot westerly winds out over the central Gulf, pulling into the Panhandle there around Sitka at 120 knots. Again, that's up at 300 millibars or 30,000 feet. Broad wind field at 9,000 feet or 700 millibars over the eastern Gulf into the Panhandle, generally 35 to 40 knot winds. Up in the far north, we do have some northeast to north winds around the Lisburn Peninsula at 35 knots there as you get up there to 9,000 feet. And then bringing things down closer to the surface, 3,000 foot level winds on Thursday. We do have westerly flow coming out of Lower Cook Inlet into the northern Gulf, around 30 knots out of the west-northwest. Nothing especially strong. So not much in the way of organized, widespread, significant turbulence. We have the potential for some isolated moderate turbulence there, Lower Cook Inlet, there around Kennedy Entrance and between Kodiak Island and the south end of the Kenai Peninsula. That would be on Thursday, surface to 5,000 feet.